this R value is our scale factor, or our dilation factor. That tells us how big our new figure is going to be compared to our old figure. So in number 1 here, our new figure is going to be twice as long. In number 2, our new figure is going to be half as large. All right? So the way that we do this without a coordinate plane, we're just going to kind of sketch the line from our center of dilation. Right? S is our center of dilation in both of these. And if my scale factor is 2, I'm just going to double that distance. So, I mean, it's technically we should get out a ruler and measure this, but for our purposes, we're just going to kind of sketch and say, well, here's the distance from S to A, so then I just want to go that same distance. We're just going to kind of eyeball it here. We're not going to spend too much time on this part. Right? So then I'll do the same thing from S to B, and then go that same distance along that same line to get to my new coordinate points. Right? So now this is my new figure. And just like we did before, we'll call it A prime, B prime. Those are our new A and our new B. So, since my scale factor was 2, this new A prime, B prime is exactly twice the length of AB. Okay? Because this distance from S to A is exactly half the distance from S to A prime. Right? We essentially, one way of thinking about it is we took this triangle and just doubled all the lengths of it, even though all we really are concerned with is AB. Questions on that idea? Okay, so a dilation changes the size of a figure using a given scale factor. And so for the second one here, still there. Why would I reassign it? We already did it. Now you know all the ways from this. I don't think that's very fair. It's fair. So for number 2 here, our scale factor is 1/2. So we're taking the distance from our center of dilation to each of these points and cutting that in half this time. Okay, so see if you can give that one a try. And sketch the distance from each vertex, find halfway, and put in our new coordinate points. we get something that looks like this, okay, where our new triangle, R prime, C prime, T prime, is exactly half the size, well, the leg, or the sides, I should say, are half the size of our original triangle. Be okay with something like that? Alright, so let's take this and put it on the coordinate plane then. So, if we are looking at dilating about the origin, okay, we're going to assume that our center of dilation is at the point 0, 0. Okay. So, in this example, our original triangle is at these 3 points, -2, -2, 1, -1, and 2, 0. So kind of a skinny triangle here. And my center of dilation is the origin. If we're on the coordinate plane and the center of dilation is 0, 0, all I'm going to do is take the coordinates and multiply them by the scale factor, right? Now we could go through the process of what we just did. We could draw a line and then multiply the length of that line by 2 to get our new points. But a shortcut, if the center of dilation is 0, 0, we're just going to take our original coordinates and multiply them by the scale factor. So A prime, if I multiply these by my scale factor of 2, will be at -4, -4. For B, I will be at 2, -2. C, 4, 0.
Okay.
Yep, yeah, so if our scale factor was 1/2, we would just take each of these and multiply by 1/2. Alright, so if I guess I should label my original points. So this was A, B, and C. So then my A prime is here, B prime is here, and C prime. Yeah, I'm actually not sure why they chose the word prime. So if you look, these points are laid out in the same way that we did these without a coordinate plane, right? From 0, 0, if I draw a line from my center to A, and then double that distance along that same line, I would get to A prime. Okay, so we just have a little shortcut now if we're doing this on the coordinate plane with our center at 0, 0. All I need to do is multiply the coordinates by the scale factor to get my new figure.
Could the center be at a different point?
It could, and we'll look at some examples of that here in a minute. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Is there a way to find it without the shortcut?
Yeah, so, I mean, we would just do kind of exactly what we did up here, but even on a coordinate plane, that process would still be a little bit easier. So, from the center to A, right, I would just say, well, I go down 2, left 2. If my scale factor is 2, I'm going to multiply those distances by 2. So then I would go down 4, left 4. If my scale factor was 3, I would multiply those distances by 3 and go down 6, left 6. Questions? And let's take a couple of minutes here and take a look at 1 through 4. Okay, on the back, numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all this type of problem centered at the origin with a given scale factor. Right, so we've got a scale factor of 1/2, 2, 1/3, and 2.5. So sketch the original figure, and then also sketch the figure after the dilation here. It'll take a few minutes to work on this. All right. I think we're just about done with these. If you're not quite done with the last one or something, that's okay. Take a look up here if you haven't already. See how you did. Okay, so our first one, our original figure gets smaller. Number 2, our original figure also gets smaller by a factor of 1/3. And number 3, our original figure gets bigger by a factor of 2, and on this one, our original figure gets bigger by a factor of 2.5. Questions on these?
Why are some on the inside and why are some on the outside?
I think he was talking about the popcorn.
No.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, because it's smaller. Okay, never mind. Yeah. I listened.
so it also depends on if the center of dilation is inside the figure or not.
Oh, okay.
So like on this one, the center of dilation is on the inside of the figure, so it's just getting smaller and closer to that center.
Okay, so like if it's like 4 locations in different spots.
Yeah. Yeah, so the center of dilation is outside the figure here. So it's just, you kind of think of it as like a projection. Like this is like where the projector is. Here is, we're putting a piece of paper up this close to get a figure. Here we're putting a piece of paper up this close. So we can
Go around the center, but I think you're kind of
Alright, let's take a look at the last two then. Okay, on the last two we have our figure centered at a point other than the origin. So, on number 5, our center of dilation is at 1, 1, and then our figure is at -2, -2, -2, 4, and 2, 4. So here, E, F, G. Here's my original figure. Now my center is at 1, 1. So we cannot use the shortcut this time of just multiplying each of the coordinates by the scale factor. What we need to do now is what we talked about, not using the shortcut essentially, right? So from my center of dilation, to get to E, I'm going down 3, left 3. Well, I want to just multiply those distances by my scale factor. So I'm going to, instead of going down 3, left 3, I'm going to go down 6, left 6 to get to E prime. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So E prime will end up right here. Just do the same thing for each point. For F, I'm going up 3, left 3. So from my center of dilation, I would go up 6, left 6. And for G prime, for G, I go up 3, right 1. So I'm going to go up 6, right 2. So here is where my new triangle will be after a scale factor of 2 centered at the point 1, 1. Questions on that idea?
I like that.
You like it?
How is it too much work? It's not. I like it.
Yeah, but then I forget. What to do like the over and out, and I forget what the number was.
What reminds me of? It reminds me of like going over that X equals Y axis. That's what.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
you're supposed to do it from the center.
Right, from the center, not from the point 0, 0, from the center of our dilation, which in this case is 1, 1, to the point.
Oh, the reason I was Mine's at the top.
Oh no. So that 6 would be moving from the center. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So go ahead and try the last one here. Sketch this triangle again, centered at 1, 1, with a scale factor of 2.
Less than it. Those. Yeah, I was there yesterday.
Did we get something like this?
Kinda. Mr. Fach, how many lessons are in Unit 7?
There's nothing to be done. Just one.
4 of them.
Is there gonna be a mid quiz after the next lesson?
Yeah, we will probably do
I'm going to say the middle of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only 4 lessons before Unit 8.
That's crazy. We'll do 2 units to take a mid-chapter quiz.
Yeah,
We'll
no.
probably do a quiz over this and the portions. And then the second half of the chapter is all about similarity. So it's a nice break.
Okay.
Yes.
I
All
can
right.
actually
Any
remember it all.
questions?